To order. This morning, the Finance Committee meets to discuss the IRS budget for the year ahead and the filing season that is winding down later this month. Mr. Commissioner, we also want to tell you it's going to be a hectic hour and a half or so because Senator Crapo and I will be running back and forth. We led the effort to revoke normal trade relations with the Russians to reduce Putin's ability to fund his war machine. So we want you to know we intend no discourtesy, and thank you for your help in arranging. Thank you. Around the country, millions and millions of families are feeling the pressure of rising prices. This year in particular, people are counting on getting their tax refunds to help cover their bills. So I'll cut right to the matter, the heart of the matter for those families whose refunds may be delayed due to IRS backlogs. If you're frustrated by poor customer service from the IRS, you have years and years of Republican cuts that have contributed mightily to the ability of the agency to meet your expectations. And for all the talk about running government more like a business, an awful lot of Republicans want to turn the government into the kind of dysfunctional business that never gets a repeat customer. The fact is, Republicans had an opportunity when they passed their big tax law in 2017 to fix the Internal Revenue Service comprehensively. And they could have included efforts to reduce backlogs and improve service. That just wasn't done. In fact, more complexity to the tax code was added, and it made the tax system even more difficult to manage. This came after a long period of Republicans squeezing the IRS budget. It was clear at the time Republicans were steering into a train wreck, and you're seeing the effects today. The number of revenue agents at the IRS, and these are the people who audit tax returns, is clearly a third of what it was a decade ago. The officers who collect unpaid taxes are down by nearly a half. The agency has the same number of employees it did in 1970, when the country's population and the economy were a fraction of the size they are today. As of late March, the IRS was facing a backlog of 12 million tax returns. Service agents struggled to keep up with the phone calls. So far this year, they've been able to answer only 11% of them. The IRS has recently been on a hiring mission, and that's thanks to funding and hiring authority passed by Democrats. The agency makes progress on the backlog in targeting resources at customer service and phone lines. But in the meantime, law-abiding taxpayers dealing with the after effects of the Republican cuts are left with the impression that the government cannot manage a two-car parade. With that said, not everybody is pained by what is happening at the IRS. Customer service has fallen off, but tax enforcement is in even worse shape, which means that these are high and good times for wealthy tax cheats. The IRS is just totally outmanned against the tax cheats who use these complexity-driven loopholes to cheat their way out of paying their fair share. There are fewer revenue agents working today than at any point since World War II, but the challenge they're up to is much bigger. Some of the murkiest, most loophole-ridden parts of America's totally busted tax code is partnership income. It's a thicket of super complicated rules that are supposed to apply to a third of all business income in America. It's a big and growing percentage. In fiscal year, the IRS examined barely more than 0.1% of partnership tax returns, the tiniest sliver. Meanwhile, new research from UC Berkeley found that the working poor are 12 times more likely to face an audit. So look at the big picture. As a result of years of Republican budget cuts, IRS customer service is struggling at best. Wealthy tax cheats get away with breaking the law, and the burden of tax enforcement gets shifted onto working people who spend every day walking a tightrope. Now, Democrats have begun to reinvest in taxpayer service and enforcement to cut down on the cheats and make tax filing season less of a headache for everybody else. Part of that ongoing process, in my view, ought to be making it easier for Americans to file their tax returns directly online for free. Give them that option. Taxpayers are paying huge sums to file their taxes through private companies, and some of those companies use deeply deceptive practices to steer them away from free options that they have a legal right to use. I've been a longtime supporter of the right to file directly with the Internal Revenue Service online. Again, it would be your right, your option, and use a simple return in which your forms show up completed, and all you got to do is check the numbers. It's past time for Congress to tell these prep companies they no longer have a free pass to turn ripoffs and deception into profits. Wrapping up, Commissioner, I want to thank you and your frontline staff specifically this morning. They have putting in some long hours this filing season to particularly get these refunds out in a timely way. They're not people thinking about politics, they're thinking about helping people. And the people need those refunds, particularly right now when we're dealing with this inflation challenge. My view is the job for those frontline folks has been made a lot harder than it had to be. It could have been easier with additional resources and additional assistance. We're going to be pursuing that, as you know, in the days ahead. We look forward to your views. And let me recognize my friend, Senator Crapo, and as we said, we're going to be running back and forth, and we're used to it, but most other people will think it's a little bit odd to have everybody running a shuttle program, but we got to handle this vote. Senator Crapo, good.